Rightio. Good morning, everybody. I'll start with the Karakia again today. Here's Councillor Swiggs. He's actually on Karakia. I wonder, do you want to do Karakia or would you like me to do it? Okay, thank you.
Whakataka te hau ki te uru. Whakataka te hau ki te taonga kia mākina kina ki uta kia mātaratara ki tai. E he aki ana ki aratura he tio he huka he hauhu ti hei mauri ora.
Kia ora. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Just want to welcome everybody to this morning's Regulation Hearing Committee for the 25th of June. There is a quorum present and we have Councillor Robinson's online and Chair Pauling's online. And with respect to apologies, we have... So I declare the meeting open because we've got the quorum. We'll move on to apologies. We've received an apology from Councillor East this morning who is unwell. Right, that takes us to conflicts of interest for today's agenda. Does anybody have conflicts of interest that they wish to raise now? If there isn't, we'll move on to agenda item 4. That's the public forum and deputations and petitions, and we have received none. So, right, takes us to agenda item 5. That's extraordinary, urgent and urgent business. There is none that's been brought to the table. Does anybody have anything that they wish to raise? I will, at the end of the meeting, just discuss the one-pager that was emailed out to last night and just the suggestion from staff at the bottom. It's just for guidance rather than decision-making. Notices of motion, we've received none. I'm not expecting any to come from the table. So that takes us on to agenda item 7, which is the minutes of our meeting last week, the 18th of June. Now, these are on page 10 to 14 of your agenda. Are there any matters of accuracy anybody wishes to raise? Nope. Rightio. We have the recommendation up here on the screen. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor, are you just going to move that? Do I have a seconder? I'll second that then. Rightio. So all in favour say aye. Against?
Aye.
So that's carried. Thank you. Right, that takes us on to our report items for decision. And at the table we have our John Boriston, our Acting Consents Planning Manager, and David Sluter, the Senior Consents Planning and Project Manager Officer. I'm going to hand over to John. You're going to introduce this paper. This is pretty much same situation as we had last week. It's around the Fast Track Approvals Act and the panel convener request to the organisation to make some recommendations here. This is an amended, staff amended recommendation that we're looking at here of 2 names. So I'm going to hand over to John. You might like to just go through and point out the things. I'm going to take the paper as read, but yeah, if you highlight issues that you wish.
Thank you. Thank you. So as for last week's meeting, as I mentioned, we've got a further fast-track application where the local councils are able to offer a nominee for a panel member. And as last week, in preparation for this meeting, in the agenda we put forward, we gave you a longer list of names, 9, which is a list of names that we built together with the Christchurch City Council, which is our partner council in this fast-track application. Knowing that when we meet, or by the time we meet, which is today, that the panel convener will have come back to us looking for a nomination and specifying any skills that they actually require. So the panel convener did come back to us at the meeting yesterday, has requested that the relevant local authorities, being ourselves and Christchurch City Council, in this instance, recommend 2 nominations with extensive planning experience around large-scale infrastructure projects. The convener encouraged the 2 authorities to confer and make a joint recommendation, but there is an option to do a recommendation each. We saw some benefit in working together between the 2 councils and make a joint recommendation of 2 nominations, and we've had discussions with the Christchurch City Council staff in regards to who are the most suitable nominees to go forward. At the moment, Christchurch City Council haven't confirmed who their preferences are, and largely in recognition they have a different nomination process to ourselves. We have only got this direction yesterday lunchtime, so we are waiting to hear back from the Christchurch City Council. But based on where we are today, ready for this meeting, the initial nominees that were proposed have been reduced to 2 nominees, which we are putting forward as staff on behalf of our council, and it's similar to the approach we took last week. However, we do expect the City Council will be nominating a panel member, hence the clause is built into the recommendation that we have up here. So I'll just quickly read through the recommendation that is on the screen. This is the amended recommendation from the paper we produced last. We approve Andrew Willis and Nathan O'Connell as Environment Canterbury's nominees for a panel member for the Ryans Road Industrial Development Project, subject to a decision on nominees from the Christchurch City Council, noting that only one of these names may be nominated.
So I'm hearing something a little bit different today, that the panel only wants one name put through with the agreement of Christchurch City Council and ourselves. Is that correct?
No. They requested we provide 2 nominees, and it'll be one from us and one from the Christchurch City Council, unless the Christchurch City Council is happy with the 2 names that we've chosen, but there's 1 vacancy in the panel. Yep.
So given there's 1 vacancy, and I mean, I guess you as staff have thought about how this might be dealt with if Christchurch didn't accept either of these 2, although they were obviously in the agreed original list. You would put up. Are we delegating you to pick one of these 2 as of today? Would that be how that would work out? Because, I mean, you're not going to have time to bring it back to RHC. I'm presuming they're wanting a name probably within correct. 24 hours if it's anything like last week.
Yes, that's correct. Has there been discussion with the City Council, the 2 names we're proposing at this stage? But they haven't confirmed. Yes, so no, that's where we're up to. Sorry to confirm, but this is sort of happening as we're talking.
Okay, we've got a question from Chair Pauling.
Yeah, kia ora koutou, thank you. I'm wondering if we just, in the resolution, we just do a preference. So, you know, whatever name we really want, we acknowledge that, and then the other person is if City Council. You know, is that an easier way to do it, or is that more complicated? Sorry, just putting it out there.
I think it's probably a little bit more complicated. I mean, I'm trusting that our staff are happy, given that the name's on the agreed list, and I respect and trust their expertise in reviewing this. But we've got some comments or questions here from Councillor Swiggs.
Just for Chair Pauline, I believe that the staff have got 2 names on the resolution that's in the room here, rather than the 6 or so that was on the resolution that you'll be reading in your report. So just for your information.
I knew that. Yeah, no, I've seen that. I just thought, should we specify just one that we really want and then the other person is optional? That's all I meant. Thank you.
Okay, you can see the recommendation, can you, from online viewing?
Yep, sure can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. I think, once again, it's up to the panel convener to actually decide which of the names that we put forward. This is, I understand it, we can nominate 2 and they'll pick 1. So the choice will be up to the panel convener to make that final decision, and I think it's great that we have actually got the opportunity to partake in making a recommendation. Does anybody else have any questions of clarity with regard to the recommendation? Councillor Swiggs?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, is this Carter group?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yes, that's correct. That's the Carter Group Limited application for the Ryans Road.
I'm going to abstain and step back from this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Edge?
Just a query of clarification. On item 11, the panel member nominations, in the last session we had, in terms of the panel requirements or the expertise of the panel, my understanding is that there is somebody with cultural knowledge is one of the 4 items, a lawyer, which it says here, of course, and a planner. But in your item 11, you leave this is left out, the fact that the FTA, in terms of the skill set, it doesn't reference somebody with cultural knowledge as a panel member. I'm just wondering why that's been left out this time.
Councillor Edge, did you read your last night's email that came in for the one-pager?
I have.
Okay.
Well, just now I've just read it. But that doesn't change. That doesn't change the act, if you like.
No, but the panel has obviously picked somebody with that expertise. So I'll let David answer that question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, through you, Chair. Yeah, Councillor Edge, item 12 there, I think that actually is that referencing what you're referring to? So
yeah, it is, although clause 11 sort of doesn't indicate that. So you're suggesting that must include one person with Te Ao Māori and Māori development. Neither of these 2 that we're suggesting here have those values. And last time we talked about the incredible relationship we have with Ngāi Tahu, and surely we can get into the habit of identifying our representative as to having those kind of Te Ao Māori values. And I suppose that's my concern, in which case I would be suggesting that we move to Andrew Henderson.
Can I just interrupt here, please? I think this is very much the discussion that we had last week. Staff have laid out in point 12 that this is a different clause, 7(1)(b) of Schedule 3, that outlines that the panel must have one member with those that specifically is there representing the Te Ao Māori and Māori development aspect. There'll be 3 other panel members, and that's what they've come to us for, one of those other 3 positions, as I understand it, and I'm getting nods down there at the end. So can we take it on board that the panel convener will have selected, presumably through the runanga that are involved in this application, and I think it does say in our agenda papers, Te Mutu and Tront have been advised, and staff are working with them. They will be the ones that will be having some input via the panel convener. Is that correct? Yep. Thank you.
I suppose we presume, there's a lot of presumptions here that the panel convener will actually do that when there's only 3 or 4 people required for the panel. And I suppose for me, when we're putting 2 names forward, why aren't we putting one of those forward with Te Ao Māori values to assist the panel convener in making that decision?
Through you, Chair. Councillor Edge, I understand what you're saying there. I think, so in this instance, we were asked specifically by the panel convener to recommend names with planning experience in large-scale development projects. I guess so. You're right. So we're on the understanding that they've got they are on making sure that everybody has that sort of experience. I would sort of say those names we've got are experienced planners and commissioners in this country and through the RMA process, so they will have an understanding of that through the RMA process. However, I appreciate the point about like I said, ensuring that representation, which like you said, there is a bit of a trust through the process that the panel convener can do that. But I suppose just sort of reiterating that point that we aren't in control of this process, and so we can only go on what the panel convener has asked us to provide.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any further questions of clarity with regard to the revised or amended staff recommendation? Councillor Edge.
Just background information then. In terms of the location of the site, I'm just unaware of the site apart from Ryan's Road. I haven't looked at a map of that. Is that in any sensitive area, or where is this particular site in relationship to any matters of related to our spatial plan, for example, those sort of things? Is it adjacent to any particular area of significance?
So Ryan's Road's next to the airport. So it says there in point 6, it's looking for a project to facilitate the delivery of 160 freehold industrial developments.
Would be useful for me if in future some of these things could just have a little location map for ease of identification. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Right, yeah. Just remind speakers to keep your remarks to the regulations under the standing orders. 21.3, please. Just can you remember that in the future? It goes back to what our role is here. We've got a decision to make around a regulation. Hearing committees making a decision around approving 2 names that staff have put up here to go into an EA panel. So,
could you explain to me what 23.1 is, please?
Speakers must combine their remarks. So we've got a black spot on it at the moment.
There's a black spot on it.
Well, we can probably move that. Right. Standing Order 23.1, speakers must confine their remarks to the motion or amendment currently under discussion. Straying off topic, even passionately, is a breach of the standing orders.
21.
And 21.3, you can look at that.
Yeah, they're not remarks, Chair. It's seeking clarification. That's all I'm doing.
Okay, rightio. Well, I've was in the paper where they were, so we've done that. So, rightio, we've got a recommendation here. Do I have a mover or a seconder? We've got Councillor Swiggs standing back on this one. I'm happy to move that. Do we have a seconder? This has got no seconder.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Thank you, Chair Pauline.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Rightio. All those in favour? We've got a mover and a seconder. I think there's been some questions of clarity here. The paper's pretty clear on what we're outlining. No discussion required. Okay. All those in favour say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against?
I'm against. I'm abstaining, Chair.
One abstention.
Abstention.
2 abstention. Right, there's 3. So that's moved. That's carried, isn't it? Abstentions aren't counted. Yep, carried. Okay. Robinson, Davies, Swiggs is abstain. It's conflict of interest. Yeah. Right. So that's carried. That takes us on to agenda item 9. This is the committee resolution status report from the 25th of June. Staff have got the recommendation there. We've got 1 green box. Is there any questions of clarity around that one? Councillor Davies?
Yeah, good morning. I've just got a query about a an application that's not on there, just around the South Shore and
hang on.
South.
Can we wait? Is that 9.2?
Oh, sorry,
We're on 9.1. It's last week's recommendations.
Okay.
Yep. I think you're in the next one. Rightio. So can I have a mover and a seconder for this one, please? Councillor Swiggs is going to move it. Anybody to second that? Councillor Robinson. So we've got a mover and a seconder. All in favour say aye. Against? So that's carried. Thank you. 9.2. This is the resource consent hearing status report, and who's coming towards this one? Alison, are you going to come up? Oh, Alison is at the table. Alison Cooper, our consents manager, is at the table for any points of clarification around that one. So we've got a recommendation here. We've obviously got some query. Councillor Davies, we'll go to you.
I'd just like to talk to the South Shore and South New Brighton Estuary Edge project applications. I'm aware they're not in the report here, but because of the public significance and the fact that they're a public application and that there's been a large number of submissions, I would just really hope that we can really put that at the top of the priority list in the next period of time, just so we can really get that in motion. We can get the, just get the process happening. Thank you.
I think that's probably just a comment because I'm guessing it's going through its normal RMA process at this stage. I'm getting nods from Henry too in the back, so, and Alison. So would you like to comment, Alison, or not?
Yes, once we get the commissioners sort of sorted out, they'll then move on. The resolution will come through.
Okay. Rightio. Does anybody else have any questions of clarification? I think we are waiting for some public notification of some decisions to occur here, but other than that, does anybody have any questions of clarification? If there isn't, can we have a mover and a seconder for this recommendation? Councillor Robinson's going to move it. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Swiggs. Is there any further discussion that anybody wishes to have with regard to this? Okay, there isn't. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? So that's carried. Now I just wish to go back to the email that came in as a response of our request just for a one-pager that we asked for, well, I asked specifically on behalf of the Committee of Council at last week's briefing. At the bottom of it, we can see that staff are obviously really under the pump time-wise around getting names together with a various expertise and reacting very quickly to a panel convener's request when these applications arrive at somebody's door. So staff are just seeking guidance. This is not a decision-making part of the process, but just seeking guidance as to they're thinking about coming back to this committee with a list, which may be a little bit longer than 8 people, to get the variations of cases that we know are sitting in the system, so that they can actually respond quite quickly and as needed. I guess the other thing is we've got recess next week, and I'm not sure whether you're expecting anything in your door in the next week, but just going forward for a 6 or 12 month period. How does the committee feel about that? I mean, we can bring it, staff can bring a paper anyway, and we can have that discussion, but I'm just wondering, we need just some positive guidance, I think, just to give staff the okay to do that. Councillor Edge.
Yeah, it's a bit worrying. Just my comments from before. I think we need to give definite thought if we're going to have a larger master list of nominations, that there is some in principle assessment of those people on that list who have the appropriate Te Ao Māori qualifications. If staff don't have that sort of ability to nominate someone, if we're naming 2 people or 3 people, that one of those is from that list of Te Ao Māori people with expertise. If it doesn't happen, I think the next level really is seeking confirmation or advice from council about whether or not that should be a matter of principle in terms of how these nominations are put to us.
I think just to remember that there isn't the fast track. Perhaps over the weekend you could have a look at that piece of regulation. It's very clear around what our role is that we plays in there. Taking on board too that the staff definitely have made a point in this paper that all names have either been passed or are current RMA commissioners, so they've got that experience, which you well know as having been through the Making Good Decisions course. But I'll pass over to Paul.
I think we could probably explain the process in which we would recommend off the panel that's already been selected by this committee if that was the decision that was made. I think also we wouldn't be suggesting that this was that would be based on what's in the system at the moment. So it would have a period of a point in time where that panel would no longer be relevant and we'd need to come back on a reasonably regular basis to update that list. So it's not we would be, I suppose, there'd be about 3 to 6 months worth of work perhaps, and then we would be coming back to update that list. So there would be an opportunity for this panel to re-engage in that process. And I think anybody that we would be putting up for that panel, it's essentially we're responding to really fast timeframes, and that's really at the essence of this conversation. So, but part of that process would be to describe the qualifications, the experience of each panel member, and I think that would be prudent for this committee to do. And then that would be a master list that would have a that would only be used for a period of time, because then there'd be a whole another load of fast tracks that we would need to go through that process for. So it would be, but it would afford us time to respond to the convener, and it would give us the process in which we could do that quite simply, because time is really the issue in these particular fast track applications.
Okay, Chair Pauling.
Yeah, kia ora, Claire and councillors, staff. Yeah, I'll be happy to consider a list in that process as well. And I think it actually would help what Grant's saying, because we, if it was listed out what people's, what groupings they were under, whether they were a planner or had Te Ao Māori expertise, I'm sure there'd be people on that list. So yeah, I'd be happy to consider that.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you. I'm just conscious of time. So thank you for that bit of feedback. That'll give you some guidance around coming back with that. I think, too, the other thing just to consider how you might put in the report for the fast-track applications that we have made recommendations on, who's actually finished up from our recommendation list there. So it might be a separate line and somewhere in one of those reports that you may be able to think about putting that in. So thank you very much. Next meeting is to be advised. Is that correct? Yep. Thank you. We better skedaddle because it's people in the room for the next meeting. So thank you very much, staff. Thank you.